Welcome to the North Shore Performance Podcast, where we take a deep dive into health and fitness for everyday people and the athlete in all of us. I am your host, Jake Wirtz, and with me is my best friend and co-host, Tanner Schenkel. Together, we take an honest look at fitness and discuss how anybody can improve their lives by adopting a healthy lifestyle. Welcome back to another edition of the North Shore Performance Podcast. Today, we are continuing our series on weight loss. Today's topic, we're going to talk about weight loss mistakes that people make when they're trying to lose weight, different things that, a lot of people will try, but don't necessarily lead to consistent results, and things that we see a lot. They're very common. I think Tanner and I have probably made every mistake on this list at one point or another, right, Tanner?
Exactly. And I think it's important to understand that there's a reason a lot of people call it a weight loss journey, because it is going to be a journey. It's going to have ups and downs, it's going to ebb and flows, and you're going to learn what works for you and what doesn't work for you. And we're not out here saying that these 8 that we came up with are tried and true and these are going to work for you 100% of the time, because everyone's going to be different. But these are just ones that like Wirt said are what we have found the most success with, based around weight loss and kind of our journey on ourselves. So
yeah, absolutely. Like Tanner said, these are the 8 biggest weight loss mistakes that we see, things that we've done, things that people we know have done. So with that said, we're going to jump right into the topic today. So the number one mistake that most people have made at some point in their life when it comes to weight loss is the fad diet. And we're talking about the crash diet, the trendy diet. I think it was last year or the year before, it was keto was the really big one. Not saying it's a fad diet. Some people have a lot of success on keto. I'm not saying it's a bad diet, but people fall into these traps of trying these new trendy diets. And really the keto diet is just a rebranding of the Atkins diet, which I remember my dad doing back in the day. So it's all these things, they rebrand things as new, but they're not really new, like paleo. I mean, there's all these different diets. Tanner, what are some of your favorite fad diets?
Favorites that I think are hilarious that people eat that way, or
well, sure, yeah.
Oh God, that's a good question. Let me think. I mean, I would say vegan or vegetarian, but that's neither here nor there.
We're a very pro meat podcast here, folks.
I don't know. I think the biggest fad diets are the ones where people think more like the cleanses and the juice only, and oh, you can only eat green food and stuff like that. I'm like, why in the world do people believe this is gonna work? You could eat a bag of green M&Ms and that's gonna be 5,000 calories. Why is that even what? How are you gonna lose weight that way? It just doesn't make sense in my head.
And the real problem with the fad diet at the end of the day is it's just not sustainable.
No.
Some people, like I said, love the keto diet and they're tried and true and they'll live the rest of their life doing it. But that's not a lot of people. Most people will try these diets, they'll lose weight, they'll go off the diet, and they'll rebound. They'll gain all the weight back because they go back to eating the way they were before.
Exactly. And I think it's important to understand I tried carnivore last month. I lasted
for 3 days.
Yeah, 3 days.
And he texted me, "Can I please stop?"
It was I was so excited to try it. I'm like, what? I can just eat steak, bacon, eggs. I'm excited. And it was actually not a pleasant experience. My body was rejecting it and I just felt gross. And I think that's important to understand that a lot of these fad diets, your body is craving sustenance. And I think that kind of goes into our point that it's important to eat a balanced diet. We're not saying that these fad diets don't work and that they're a good concept. Say you have very bad eating habits already. Some of these more restrictive diets are going to actually help you because they put you on a strict diet plan, and they're good what a lot of people call elimination diets. So you're getting rid of a lot of the foods that might irritate you, make your stomach upset, or just are not overall healthy for you. And then you fill it with better foods for you. But then that's what they are, elimination diets. And it's important to get back to a balanced diet in the future. Because your body's gonna be craving nutrients. That's what my body was when I was on carnivore. It wanted fiber, it wanted fruit. I don't think I could explain how good berries sounded, and it was just or vegetable, a salad. I just wanted something that wasn't meat and greasy, and I didn't think I was gonna I think I was gonna struggle like 2 weeks in, but 3 days that caught me off guard.
Yeah,
So
you sounded pretty rough when you were telling me some of the side effects you were dealing with. Let's just say the uh the TP was running a little thin at the house there. But
yeah,
I
my
think the
GI track was awful.
I think the important thing though, and the really smart thing that you did was you listened to the response and the feedback you got from your body. Like you went a few days and you're like, all right, this isn't like you've pushed past the point of being uncomfortable. You've pushed into the point where you're like, no, my body is just rejecting this. This is not, for me at least, something that I can sustainably do for a while, not even for a month, because you were talking about doing it for a month. So
Yeah.
imagine, and some people eat like that all the time, but imagine having to do that for a month or a year. You force it, like you would be ignoring all these like signs and all this feedback that your body is giving you. So I think that's probably the highlight of that example that you gave was you tried it and you're like, you know what? This just ain't it. This ain't it, folks. Let's do something else.
I did it for the subscribers, all 5 of you out there. We appreciate you.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was gonna do like a big report on it and come back to you guys, and I didn't get enough data for it because I only lasted 3 days. So
But yeah, our number one weight loss mistake is falling into the trap of fad diets. And instead, we suggest taking more of a balanced diet approach, like Tanner said, just eating your fruits and vegetables, as simple as that sounds. Just don't eliminate whole food groups, as I think is the key with that fad diet point.
yeah, it goes back to our concept we've talked about a lot of times where it's eating one ingredient bait like foods, where we know exactly what we're putting into our bodies. Try not to eat overly processed foods. Try to eat your fruits, your vegetables, all your food groups are covered. And that's just going to give you overall better feeling because your body's going to tell you, like when you're craving certain foods, or like you can eat a whole bag of potato chips, it's because your body wants nutrients that it's not getting from the food you're eating. So it's really interesting. It's important, like Word said, to listen to your body because your body's going to give you feedback. And if you're not listening, you're upsetting your body, and that's why you're going to have some stomach issues, and you're not going to get the results you want.
Yeah, don't ignore the response signals. And I think it's important to note too that just because we're talking about eating a balanced diet and not putting whole food groups on the do not eat list or the bad list, that doesn't mean you can eat like a pig either. We are talking about weight loss. So portion control is a big thing. That's something that I struggle with when I try to lose weight personally. Anytime I go on a cut or a little diet or whatever, I have a tendency to want to eliminate whole food groups as well. Like for me, a big one is desserts. I'm like, I can't have it in the house. Don't want to even think about it. I can't have a little bit of ice cream. I have a bowl of ice cream or a tub of ice cream. But when we say a balanced diet, it's like those things aren't off limits, but just know that everything needs to be in balance. That's the key word here is a balance. Your energy balance needs to be in effect. If you're not in a deficit, it's not going to work. So moving on to our second biggest weight loss mistake, being a cardio junkie. And so this is a trap that everybody falls into at some point. I think I really fell into the cardio trap right after high school. I was trying to cut weight for some things I was doing after high school. I was doing a lot of running. And after I was done running, I jump on the elliptical. After I was done on the elliptical, I jump on the bike and maybe I do a little bit of weight training or resistance training. But I was like, this burns the most calories. So this means I'll lose the most weight doing this. But the biggest problem with becoming a cardio junkie is your body is going to respond to the training that you give it. So by becoming a cardio junkie or just hammering the cardio, what you're going to be doing is your body's going to be getting more prepared and better and more efficient to perform that cardio. So you're actually going to burn less and less energy or calories the more you do it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think people need to understand like your body, the way muscle works is like the more muscle mass you have, the more calories your body's going to burn to keep that muscle mass through your basal metabolic rate. Your TDE goes up. Like, so you actually will end up burning more calories just by living if you have more muscle mass on you. And cardio is going to eat that muscle mass that's beneficial to your body. And I mean, cardio is important because you want to have good cardiovascular health, but you got to have a nice medium ground where you're doing both. You're focusing on resistance training, getting stronger, building muscle mass. But then you still do cardio to make sure your heart's pumping good, get good blood flow, circulation. That'll also help getting sick pumps in the gym. So I think it's really important. It's just like balanced diet. You want to have a balanced gym approach. If you're doing too much of one thing, it's going to impede on everything else. So.
Yeah, I think if you do a bunch of cardio without any resistance training at all, you are really priming your body to pair off a lot of that muscle because your body's trying to become resistant or not resistant. It's trying to become efficient at the stimulus that you're giving it. So like if you're lifting weights, your body's going to adapt. The adaptation you're causing is to have more muscle so you can perform those movements easier. It's less strenuous. That's why you have to add more weight because your body gets better. It adapts to it. If all you're doing is cardio, your body's going to pare down muscle because it wants to become more efficient at that cardio. When you see these long distance marathoners, a lot of them ain't jacked. You know, you look at a sprinter, some of those guys are yoked, but your long distance, like mega cardio people that you'll see, a lot of the time they're not jacked. And if they are, they're probably also prioritizing resistance training as well.
Yeah. And you need to understand that what your goal is when you're doing this. If your goal is to look like a marathon runner or that's your passion is marathon running, then yeah.
Godspeed.
Exactly. Most of the people that probably watch this podcast or our friends and family understand that we like to be strong and look like we lift, where we don't really run. Like running's not my thing. I played baseball most of my life. There's not a lot of running in that sport. So it's definitely not my cup of tea, but to each their own. But I think it's important to understand where your goals stand when it comes to this. And I still think even if you're a marathon runner, you should do resistance training because there's lots of benefits, bone density, increasing that, especially when you get older, just cardiovascular health alone. There's definitely benefits of doing a balance of them versus one or the other, stuff like that. So I highly still recommend resistance training, even if your goal is to run a marathon.
And when you're talking about weight loss, once again, we are needing to be in an energy balance or an energy deficit, like we said. And cardio is a good way of manually burning calories, but manually burning calories is not always a good way to chase the deficit. You know what I mean? Because we talked about earlier, I think it was our first episode when we were talking about calories, just how to be in a deficit, there's all the calories that you burn every day. And then there's all the energies that you burn from activity. And then there's all the calories you burn from exercise activity. It's like, well, that exercise activity is a very small piece of your total daily expenditure. You know what I mean? So like, let's say you run on the treadmill for 30 minutes and it says you burnt, 200 calories. By the way, those estimates are very rarely accurate or consistent, but I digress. So let's say you burn 200 calories running in those 30 minutes or an hour or whatever it is. I don't know. I don't run very often, clearly. Well, you're only burning those 200 calories in that training session and you don't get anything after the fact. Whereas if you prioritize resistance training and you build more muscle, you're going to be burning more calories just by the fact that your body has more muscle. Muscle consumes more energy. It costs more energy to maintain. So just by doing nothing, by having that muscle, you've increased your TDE every single day by however many calories you burn per pound of muscle. I think it's like 50 calories a day per pound of muscle. Isn't that the current estimate?
I think so. That sounds right.
So if you put on 5 pounds of muscle, that's 250 calories a day. Just by maintaining that, you will burn an extra 250 calories a day. You don't have to do any cardio on top of that to burn that. And if you continue to add muscle, and you can use a little bit of cardio to improve that manual calorie burn as well if you want, but by maintaining or improving the amount of muscle that you have, you'll actually increase the amount of calories that you burn throughout the day. So that's why it's really important to prioritize your resistance training even when you are trying to lose weight. You want to hold on to that lean muscle at the very least. If you can put on more, that would be great. That's a hard thing to do, but maintaining what you have at the very least is key.
Yeah, exactly. And I think a good point to understand, like, I don't know, when you burn, say 200 pounds was the example Forts was using in resistance training, think about how easy that is to like consume that amount in food. And I know that you don't want to like think about how, because like Ward said, the machine's estimation, your fitness watches, they're not accurate.
No,
I mean, it's a prediction or like I can't think of the word I'm looking for. But anyways, like,
It's an estimate.
yeah, that's the word I was looking for. What do you think about that 200 calories burnt? How fast you can eat that? Do you really want to be miserable for 30 minutes on a treadmill, like hating life, and then you go eat a yogurt and you're halfway filled that up? Like, I don't know. Like, I like to think of it, I'd rather do an hour of resistance training, maybe burn the same amount of calories, but not feel like death afterwards. And because when you really think about how much food calories in food and what you just busted your ass to burn and how fast you can just replenish that, it's, I don't know. I think resistance training is a little more enjoyable, but
And
like we
listen,
said, to each their own.
with Easter coming up, oh man, 200 calories, that goes quick. Everybody knows you got jelly beans, you got Reese's eggs, ham, cheesy taters. Bro, 200 calories, that doesn't even last 10 minutes at Easter. Give me a break. Not even close. So moving on to number 3, our number 3 biggest weight loss mistake that everybody makes, overrating supplements. And we're going to talk about a specific class of supplements here. We're going to talk about your fat burners. They're garbage. Throw them out. Don't buy them. Don't waste your money.
You're they're essentially just caffeine pills, and you're paying so much money for them.
That's exactly. You're going to give yourself heart palpitations just to feel like you're burning extra calories. Just go for a walk.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, realistically, there are some supplements that can help you, but there's nothing that's going to directly make a significant enough impact on your weight loss that's worth the amount of money that you're going to pay.
Yeah, exactly. Supplements are just that. They're supplements. They're meant to supplement your diet if you have missing parts of it. For someone who doesn't like to eat vegetables, like a green supplement could be an option, or a multivitamin, stuff like that. That's sure, that makes sense, but you got to really look at them. And it's kind of like I work at AT&T, and I always tell these customers that download these apps that cause viruses on their phones, did you really think that this app can make your phone have an X-ray camera on it? Like, if it sounds too good to be true, it's probably true. Like, supplements aren't meant to take the easy way out. They're supposed to supplement your diet from what you're missing. And I think a lot of people think that's the cheat code. Like, I remember when I worked at Target in high school, a bunch of these ladies were doing this thing where they took saran wrap in this like heat gel and rubbed it on their abdomen and then saran wrapped themselves because apparently that was going to make them lose weight. And it's like, does that even make sense when you think about it critically? And I think that's a part of that's how the supplement industry gets people, is that they sell you on the concept that this is the easy way. And that's why people are buying these. In my opinion, the only supplements you really need is a creatine supplement and like a whey protein. And if you work out in the morning or need some energy or after work, a pre-workout. But I mean, it's really the only supplements you need. BCAAs are a waste of time. If you eat protein, animal-based protein, there's no reason to have BCAAs.
Or if you consume a whey protein,
exactly.
There it is. There's your BCAAs right there.
Yeah, like I don't know.
I remember walking into a GNC at one time as a young lad, as you know, we are the target audience for a GNC, and the guy walks up to you and he goes, "Hey son, what are you in for?" And you're like, "Oh, you know, I'm trying to lose weight, or, you know, I'm looking for a new pre-workout, whatever you say, they've got something to sell." And if they've got something to sell to you, if they got something to peddle to you, oftentimes they're either looking for commission or they're pushing a certain kind of supplement that's what their managers want them to sell this month or this week or whatever. They're not all, and I'm not saying this across the board. I'm not saying it's just GNC either. But when you go into these supplement places, a lot of times they're trying to make money. It's a business. So at the end of the day, if you see great results or if you don't, that's kind of a bonus. The important thing is that you buy it. And I remember actually purchasing, you know, either a fat burner or like these special pills that'll help you oxidize your fat faster. I was like 18, 19, I think. So I was really dumb, but I remember taking, you know, some of these supplements like a fat burner or whatever. And I just remember like I was sweating all the time. That's all it did was make me sweat. And, you know, it just raised my body temperature a bit. I felt like my heart was pounding through my chest all the time. Even going for a walk, I was like, I thought this was supposed to help me get in better shape, not worse shape. You know, so I felt awful all the time. You know, like I said, I was just like, I had heart palpitations. It felt like it was not a pleasant experience. But all those things are marketed to have all these great benefits, and you can't take a supplement that's going to outwork your diet at the end of the day. You know what I mean? If you're eating way too much, if you're way over your energy balance, if you're in a surplus, none of these supplements are really going to help you lose weight in the long run. They might make you feel like you're doing something because you feel something. You might think it's actually working, but that's not the case.
Exactly. It's a game. They're trying to sell you something. It's important to be an informed consumer with anything. Like, understand what you're buying before you go in there and have a game plan, because there's salespeople out there that their job, the way they put food on the table for their families is by selling stuff. And you as a consumer need to understand that. I'm not saying that salesmen are bad. I'm a salesman myself. What I'm saying is you need to do the research before you go into those places, because otherwise they'll rob you blind. So, and promise you things. It's kind of like the old story you hear about people selling snake oil. I feel like some of the
It's absolutely the same thing.
Exactly that. Yeah.
It's exactly the same thing.
They sell you these miracle things that, oh, you don't need to do anything. You just take this pill and you're going to, like, oh, what's that one? I want to say OxyClean, but that's definitely not it.
Hydroxycut.
That's what it is. Hydroxycut.
Yeah, because it sounds like OxyClean.
Yeah, all you have to do is take these pills and you're going to lose weight. And I'm like, well, first of all, if that works, what's in those pills? Because I don't want to put that in my body. I'll be honest with you.
Or if they worked, everybody in the world would be on them. And think about it, we wouldn't have an obesity epidemic if that was the case.
Yeah. Like, imagine you can eat whatever you want and still lose weight. Just take this one pill.
That's exactly. Wouldn't do that. That's exactly. Or like, I can't remember what it was. There was a supplement that people were sprinkling on top of pizza because it like it soaked up the oil or something, and it made it less caloric. It's like, bro, come on, like, use your brain a little bit. I think you touched on something really important about how you need to do your research. The responsibility is on the consumer ultimately, because a lot of these products aren't verified by the FDA, which is why it's really important to do your own research and look into different supplements. That's why most of the science-based information you'll hear on fitness and supplements, they only recommend a few. It's like creatine, because it's creatine monohydrate. Let me be specific, not the HCl crap. One of our friends loves it. We love him to death, but we always tell him about the monohydrate. Oh, anyway, but so creatine, because it has the most research backing, it has the most efficacy proven, and just over the course of time, there's so much information supporting it, so much data supporting it. We have a pretty good idea of what creatine is going to do. It's going to help with your energy production. It's going to help with your muscles retaining water, being more hydrated, being more full. And then, you've got your fish oils, your whey protein, things like that. There's really not that many that are completely backed by science, though. A lot of these supplements that people peddle, they're just that. They're just snake oil, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a good number 3B, we didn't have this listed, but you touched on it a bit, actually, was gimmicks. You talked about the saran wrap, or like, wrestlers, they used the old body trick or the old weight loss trick where they put on like a sauna suit or a bodysuit or a trash bag on at night, so they'd sweat, and then the next morning they'd make weight for their cut or whatever. And sometimes, power lifters or bodybuilders will do these kind of things too, to cut weight for a competition. But at the end of the day, that's just a gimmick.
Yeah, it's not sustainable. Are you gonna put saran wrap on your body every single day?
Well, it's just water weight. You're not losing body fat. Nobody cares if you're losing water weight. That nobody seeks out losing weight to lose water weight. They're trying to burn body fat. But you can get into all sorts of gimmicks and stuff too, like the targeting the belly fat, or like I was like the special shoes with the rounded edge. I think Kim Kardashian liked to peddle these back in the day, and they were called like shape ups. Like, oh, the shape of your shoe will tone your butt, and it's like, what? Is that how you got your butt, Kim? I don't think so. But there's, between supplements and gimmicks, they're just different ways of attacking your insecurities and really trying to sell you something, trying to get your money. That's all it is.
Exactly.
All right, moving on to number 4 of our biggest weight loss mistakes that everybody makes: losing weight too fast. The problem with this is we always come back to the question of sustainability, right? If you're going on a crash diet, if you're really slashing your calories, if you're doing all this extra, activity, either running or lifting weights or, going on walks, whatever, you're doing all this extra stuff, you're going to burn yourself out. You might lose weight really quickly, but you're also priming yourself for rebound weight to regain that weight back and even more. It's not sustainable at all.
Exactly. And there's a reason they call it a weight loss journey. Like you want this to be a lifestyle change so you can have these results and it be sustainable. Where, I mean, if you just crash diet to me, I mean, that's you do it for a week just to look good for a vacation you're going on or whatever. Where I think it's important to understand if you genuinely want to make a difference in your life and have a different quality of life and have better health and wellness, it's really important to understand that it's a journey and losing half a pound to a pound a week is a good, healthy way to lose weight.
And the added benefit of that too, if you're losing it slow and steady, as we like to say, you're going to be giving yourself the best chance to retain as much of that lean muscle as you can. That's really the issue that we're talking about here when you lose weight super fast. So I don't know an exact number, but let's say you lose like 20 pounds in like 5 weeks. That's a really fast rate of weight loss. So by the end of the 5 weeks, you're going to be like, man, I lost 20 pounds. I feel great. Someone that's probably going to be a considerable amount of water weight. So how much weight are you really losing? And then of the rest of the weight you're losing, probably half of that's going to be muscle mass. So now you're going to get to the end of the 20 pounds, the 4 weeks or whatever. This is just an example, by the way. I don't know anybody specifically that did this, but you're going to get to the end of the 4 weeks and the 20 pounds, and you might have the same body fat percentage or worse because you also lost muscle. And water weight, by the way, does count as lean body mass as well if you really want to get into the nitty gritty of it. But so at the end of the 4 weeks, you weigh less, you have less muscle, your body fat percentage is the same or it's higher. And now you're actually going to be burning less calories. Your total daily expenditure is probably going to go down because you've lost muscle. So now your BMR, your basal metabolic rate, which we talked about in our first episode of the series, call back to that, that's going to be lower because you have less muscle. So now you're burning less calories, which means you have to eat less to maintain or continue to lose weight. And that's why it primes you for rebound weight, as they say.
Yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of people don't understand because they cut, and then they don't understand like what damage it's doing to their metabolic rate in general, and like how like I don't like a lot of like people that we listen to in the fitness industry actually want you to like eat a decent amount because then your body starts like it restarts your metabolism and stuff. You're actually like burning food, you're slowing down your metabolism by doing these drastic cuts in calories because it's used to not running all the time because you're not eating a lot of calories. And it's just the damage you do by not critically thinking about your diet and trying to just lose as weight as fast as possible is detrimental to actually the process you're trying to do. It's kind of counterproductive if you think about it.
And when you talk about metabolic damage, I'm really glad you brought that up. A lot of the worst examples of that are people in the fitness space, people like bodybuilders or even certain powerlifters, because they'll try to make these drastic cuts for their weights that they have to make for the meets. But like bodybuilders are the worst because they bring their calories all the way down and they dehydrate their bodies so that way their muscles just look more defined and they're leaner, right? But afterwards, after those meets, a lot of times they have hormonal problems. A lot of times they gain a lot of bad weight back right away. And in the future, maybe not for a bodybuilder because they're professionals at it and it's a sport, so it's sport specific. But for the average person, after you do those crash diets and you cut your calories way low like that, you're going to have a harder time losing weight in the future. Because now, like we've just touched on, you have less muscle. So now you have to go through the effort of building that muscle back. And now you're going to stack fat on top of that probably because you're probably going to overeat because you're over assuming the surplus you need to be. And you just went on this hard cut. So you're probably going to be more prone to binging anyway. I know I'm taking a lot of liberties with this, but I'm just speaking from my own personal experience, right? Like I've done this. I know you've done this. A lot of people we know have done this, but that's the pattern that people fall into. It's really easy. It's a trap.
Exactly. Like I know we kind of sometimes may come off as like, oh, we know everything or whatever. Like we're coming from a place like we have done all of these things before. I think it's something important to understand. Like we're not like dietitians by any means. We're not like professionals in this aspect. All we are is guys who have gone through this journey together, and we're trying to inform people on different mistakes that they've made themselves. So either we can prevent you guys from making the same mistakes that we did, or help you find better ways to get around those mistakes. Um, and I think it's, I don't know, important. Like as a culture, we everyone tries to think that they're the experts of, like, we're not claiming to be expert. We just have been doing this for a long time, and this is what we found out in our journey. So
Yeah, we're really speaking for personal experience. That's the best way to say it.
yep, exactly.
Okay, moving on to number 5, the biggest weight loss mistakes that we've seen or we've made is comparing yourself to others. Now, this is specifically, we're talking about weight loss here, but this is just something I want to point out in fitness in general. And we've all fallen into this trap. I've used that phrase a lot today, I know, but it's true. When you compare yourselves to when you compare yourself to others, you really rob yourself the chance of focusing on your own improvement and your own self-worth. You don't know the struggle that everybody else is going through. When you see some guy in the gym and he's big and shredded or whatever, bro, he's on steroids anyway. Stop looking at him. Like, worry about your own damn self at the end of the day. Like, your journey is about you. Don't worry about anybody else. You can look to others for inspiration. That can be key. But really, it comes down to you, your habits, your goals, and your life shouldn't have any impact on anybody else's life, and vice versa. Don't let their business affect yours.
Exactly. And like back to the whole steroid, like, oh, he looks good, he must be on steroids. Like, or
I was kidding about that, by the way.
Yeah.
Just so we're clear.
But or maybe they're just working harder than you. And I think that's a lot of time, at least myself, when I'm judging someone and I'm like hating on what they're doing and stuff like that, I realize I'm upset that I'm not working as hard as them, or I'm not doing something to better myself like they are. And I think that's something to, like, the faster you can understand that, the faster you can kind of self-evaluate, like, the bad juju you're putting out in the world on hating on someone else who's working hard. Like, I always think it's interesting how people, like, will go on like social media and like call out people don't get me wrong, some people need to be called in the gym because what they're doing is ridiculous, but they'll take pictures of like people that are in there just busting their ass, and like they don't look like you, so you're going to point fun and tease them. No, like, that's not how this works. Like, the gym is supposed to be a supportive place where you're there, everyone's there to pick each other up if you need it, but the most part, you should be hood up, headphones in, focusing on your own shit. That's my opinion. But I also have a garage gym, so the only person I can judge is the guy I look in the mirror. So
Hey, the man in the mirror, that's if you can make a friend out of him,
yeah.
as the old poem goes. But it's such a hard thing, because like you were talking about, you look at somebody else and they're in great shape, and you get a little envious, right? And really what that speaks to is your own insecurities, and we all have them, right? As somebody who takes great pride in your physical fitness, you see somebody that's bigger than you, you're like, he cares about it more than I do. It's like, no, maybe he has more time. You, me, we're both married. We're both going to school. We have our professional lives to take care of. We're dog dads. We have other responsibilities. Those sound like excuses when I'm saying them out right now, but it's a balanced lifestyle. It's not the lifestyle. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Neither of us are trying to become professional bodybuilders, powerlifters, or what. I mean,
nor could we.
Yeah, exactly. But that's
nor could we.
Like, lifting is a lifestyle to us, but it's not like, it's more of a hobby than anything, really. But we use it because it makes us feel good. It helps us stay on track for our rest of our goals, because it's taught us a lot of life lessons, and it's something we're passionate about and we love to talk about and we're generally interested in. But we're not professional athletes whatsoever.
Another thing too, when you're talking about comparing yourself to others, there's always this perception that anybody in the gym who is in great shape or is really dedicated, maybe they're an asshole, right? They're selfish, right? A lot of times I've found in the gym, like, the biggest, strongest dudes in the gym are some of the nicest. When I was first starting out, I remember being kind of nervous around people like that are like huge or in shape or really strong. You could just tell that they have like this confidence about them. A lot of times those are the most supportive people in the entire gym. They can give you advice if you have questions. Some people, don't get me wrong, they're jerks. That is what it is. But I mean, I think of guys at like the gym that I train at most of the time, 365. There's some dudes that have been lifting there for years, like Chuck Wong. His picture's up on the wall, right? World record deadlift in his weight class. I think he's 132 pounds. They pulled like 460, right? Which is insane, by the way. That's crazy. It's triple his body weight. But a guy like that, you might be intimidated, like, God, he's a world record holder. Like, that's insane. He's one of the nicest dudes I've ever met in any walk of life, but especially in the gym. We talk about training, powerlifting, stuff like that all the time. If the gym gets new equipment, they're usually asking him, right? Because he's like the elder statesman in the gym. And there's several guys in there like that, you know. So when you're comparing yourself to others, just remember that everybody was a beginner at one point. That's the big thing. Any guy you see on Instagram, any champion record holder you see, they all started off at the same point that we all did.
Exactly. I think that's as soon as you can understand that, you can kind of, I don't know, take people's progress and success and use it to inspire you in a constructive manner.
Exactly. I think that should be the goal. Moving on, we're going to go into number 6 of the 8 biggest weight loss mistakes that we have seen or we have made ourselves. The concept of discipline versus motivation. And this is an interesting one, because I'm not going to sit here and say that motivation isn't bad or motivation doesn't play a key part, but it's a very finite resource. You're not going to be motivated all the time. And sometimes that burst of energy to get you started is great. It helps give you momentum and it helps initiate the process, but it's not always going to be there. So the important thing with motivation versus discipline is realizing that if you don't have those daily disciplines, those small habits that you build into your daily routine, you're not going to have any sustainable success when you're talking about weight loss or fitness in general or anything in life. If you sit down, we use the reading example all the time. If you're really motivated one day and you're like, I'm going to read for an entire day just to see how many books I can read. Well, depending on the size of the book and how fast of a reader you are, let's say you read like 3 books in a day in a 24-hour period, but then you're burnt out. You've neglected your household responsibilities. You didn't go to the gym. You didn't take your dog for a walk, and whatever, right? You didn't spend time with your wife or your kids. Well, you're not going to get very far doing that, because now you're going to be, next time you try to read, you're like, I don't feel like reading all day. I don't want to read 3 books again today. Give me a break. That's not going to get you nearly as far as the guy who reads 10 pages a day every day for a year. That guy is going to read 20 books in a year, where you read 6 because you had 2 days where you're really, into it and inspired and motivated. It's like, it's not sustainable at all. You're going to burn yourself out.
Yeah, I think based on what you said, I kind of just came up with this, I don't know, concept in my head. It popped in right away, where the difference between discipline and motivation is pretty straightforward. Everyone knows that old nursery rhyme, like the 3 pigs and the wolf. Well, having the motivation is kind of like having the house made of sticks or straw. Like, it's there, it's a structure, it's something you can hide behind when the big bad wolf comes, but ultimately he's going to blow your house down. So essentially what that kind of represents, if you don't have motivation, and you don't want to go to the gym that day, you're probably not going to go. But the pig that built his house on a solid foundation of bricks, and the disciplines create that foundation, when the wolf comes and you're having a bad day, you don't want to go, and he's blowing and blowing, he can't blow your house down because you have those disciplines and that routine set in place, and those habits that make you go to the gym even on the days you don't want to.
Man, that is a deep cut. But no, for real, that's a great analogy, actually, because what's going to help you weather the storm better, right? A motivational video on YouTube and some pre-workout or a Red Bull or whatever.
I don't know, man.
I'm not knocking those either, because there are days when you need it, I will say. Or is it just going to be the habit of knowing, like, hey, I get up at 6, I go to the gym for an hour, I shower, and I go to work. You're like, that's what I do. Come rain or shine, no matter what, that's what I do. 5 days a week, 4 days a week, whatever it is, right? Whatever your routine is. But having that routine in place is so much better than waiting to feel like you want to go, or waiting till you feel like you want to make a change to your diet, because we're talking about weight loss. Those disciplines of, I'm going to have a fruit and veggie with every meal, or I'm going to cut back on the sweets. I'm only going to let myself have like one sweet a week or something like that. Like those are disciplines. You can't motivate yourself into a great diet that's going to last you a lifetime. You know what I mean?
Exactly. It's back to like our goal setting episode. It's all about creating sustainable habits that are going to allow us to accomplish and create a lifestyle out of what we're trying to do. Like everyone can go and try to lose weight for a week, but the people that create the correct routines, create good habits, and just all around have a sustainable approach to it are the ones who are going to see long-term success. And I think that's kind of the common theme to a lot of these is these crash course, these kind of gimmicky things that might work great for a week, but they're not sustainable. And I think that's important to understand.
All right, real quick. Who's your favorite motivational speaker though? When you need it, when you've got a hype video, do you have one in your back pocket that you always go back to? Like we all have one or two that we, go to in a pinch when you're really needing that extra boost. What is it?
I have 3. 2 of them are by ET.
Eric Thomas, for those of you who don't know,
yeah,
ET.
The one that's like, real lions like to hunt. They They like the process just as much as they like to kill.
I love him so much.
And then the other one where he's like, he became the shark or something like that. That one, the shark mindset.
Yeah. Oh God, what's his name? Walter Bond.
Yep, that one's really good. That one's super good. And then most recently, my coworker showed me the one that it was like a commencement speech that
Denzel Washington
did, and that one is fire too.
Yeah,
that one's
I know really exactly which ones you're talking about for all 3.
Yep.
They're very good. Another one I really like too. I love all those guys, by the way. Eric Thomas is, that dude is so good. I also like some of Tony Robbins stuff as well.
He's good.
Sometimes that's more like lifestyle things. And then I don't know if you know who this is, but he's an old school guy. He's dead now, I believe. Greg Plitt. Is it Plitt? I think it is. He's very good as well. He has some. You should look up some of his stuff. He says some really inspiring words. So,
I think if you're looking for just like clips and stuff, I think what's that Canadian psychologist? Can't think of his name right now for the life of me. Jordan Peterson has some really good like just clips, or like Rogan talking about stuff him and Jordan Peterson talked about, like that one where I talk about like a warrior in the garden is better than a gardener in war, like that whole adage. Otherwise, Andy Frisella has some really good like clips of. Sometimes he gets all crazy and intense and like
sometimes he's in your face. Yeah, sometimes he's in your face.
But sometimes like his like
sometimes you need that though.
Yeah, exactly. Like you need like someone to football coach you and scream in your face. Andy Frisella is a good person to go to too. But like motivation, like those things are good when you need it. But if you're always using it as a crutch, then you don't have the discipline and the routines in place that you need.
Exactly. I love the concept though. It's a great discussion. I hate to say that I don't want to say motivation is like not important or useless or anything like that. It's a tool, just like anything else that we've talked about. There are times and places when you're going to be really energized in your training. You're going to be really energized in your diet or nutrition. And maybe those are times when maybe you put the pedal down a little bit. Maybe you go for that PR. Maybe you see, how long you can go on a fast or something like that, right? Maybe those are the days that you push the limits a little bit, but you have to get back to that base level. And if your base level isn't where you want it to be to gear you towards success, then it's all going to wash out in the end.
Exactly.
All right. Going to number 7. I kind of want to give a shout out to one of our biggest listeners, our biggest fan. I know you listen to every podcast. We love you to death. Caden, Tanner's nephew. This one's for you because you're a teenager, and I know for a fact you made this mistake all the time. It's okay. Number 7 mistake that everybody makes when it comes to weight loss or fitness in general is ignoring sleep. That's right, Caden. I know you stay up late on your phone or your iPad or whatever it is. Go to bed. Turn this off and go to bed, Caden. But for real, like everybody always overlooks it. They always talk about their diet. They always talk about exercise and supplements and all these things. and they ignore one of the most basic fundamental things of recovery, which is sleep. It's literally recovery. You know what I mean? Sleeping better will give you so many advantages. Like you'll be more energized when you wake up. Obviously, you'll have more energy to train. Another thing is your hormones will be more in balance. That ghrelin that they always talk about, the hormone ghrelin, which influences your hunger signals. When you don't sleep well, that ghrelin hormone spikes and it's all over the place. And that's you start making some bad decisions when you're hungry, is what I'm trying to say. So sleeping better will help you recover from your workouts and help you make better choices. You'll be in a better mind space. It's probably the most overlooked factor in all of this.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think it goes back to the creating the routine and the habits piece of it. Like
100%.
having good like sleep hygiene, going to and having like going to bed at the same time, wake up at the same time, even if you don't have to be up at 6 a.m. because you don't work that day. I think it's important to create those habits. I mean, some days like today, I slept in because I knew I didn't have anything going on. And with school and stuff, I just wanted some extra sleep. But for the most part, if you create that habit where you go to bed at 10 o'clock, wake up at 6, that's your 8 hours, you're golden. And it's you create that routine where it's good start to your day because you woke up on time. Now let's check off the next thing on our routine to have a successful day. Um, and just preparing yourself to go to bed. Turn off your phone after like an hour before bed. Stop watching TV, read a book, or do something to kind of let your mind start getting into that mode. And it's having those routines. It's going to get you the sleep that you need for the optimum recovery and just create successful habits. It's the little things that are going to create this journey and make it better. So,
Yeah, I think we're so overstimulated at times with our phones and schoolwork. For me, sometimes I'm on the laptop till right before bed because I'm doing homework or whatever, trying to meet some deadline or whatever. And I know I shouldn't because I always sleep so much better. Like you said, when I take that time before bed to read a book or just have a conversation with my wife and just be off the phone, away from the TV, stuff like that, my mind is always so much more at ease. If that's a way to say it, it's so much less like overstimulated that it's easier just to kind of fall into that sleep and stay asleep as well.
yeah, exactly. And I mean, there's definitely science behind like the blue lights and affecting your sleep and your REMs and all that stuff. We're not sleep pathologists or whatever. But definitely like if I can say anything, doing something to decompress right before bed, whether it's reading, whether it's I don't laying in bed, you can turn on an audiobook or something, just make sure you're
Meditating,
yeah, stuff like that.
yoga.
Yeah, yoga, stretching, stuff that's not going to get you just crazy because like in our life we're a lot of people are just go 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 go
All the
overstimulated
time,
overstressed and it's important to
over
have that.
caffeinated.
We don't talk about that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That was a personal attack, wasn't
Yeah, sometimes
it?
being caffeinated stops me from going to jail, so it's a crutch, but until I'm out of school it's going to be a crutch. So
Yeah, and then you'll have kids, and then that'll be your excuse. Give me a break. Get out of here with that. I'm just as bad too, but I'm just giving it to you right now. What's your sleep habit right now? Like, what's your routine when you go to bed, or you're trying to go to bed?
usually most nights I have like actual glasses but they have blue light filters on them. If me and my wife are going to watch a show, I'll put those on to help with the blue lights and kind of go down. And usually about an hour before bed or half an hour before bed, I'll go actually into bed and read until I'm ready to go to bed that set time. Or if my body's telling me it's time to go to bed early, I just let it go and go to bed. I think sometimes like if you fall asleep watching like a TV show and stuff, your body's telling you it's time to go to bed, but you're fighting because you want to finish this episode or whatnot. So I think
Yeah,
it's nice to be, yeah, I think it's nice to be
Netflix
already in
is
bed
such a sleep trap.
doing something where like you're decompressing. So when your body's like, hey, it's time to go to bed, you're not doing something where you're going to fight it. Like maybe you get in a good part of your book or whatever, or you're having like you really like this meditation thing you're doing or whatever. But for the most part, like I don't know, when I'm reading, I just accept that I'm going to go to bed and I put my book away. Or if I'm watching TV, I try to fight it. And I mean, usually I lose and I end up falling asleep on the couch.
But it's
But
not restful sleep either.
exactly, like already in bed in my position that I'm going to stay in, where now when you're on the couch, you're going to wake up in the middle of the night, realize you're still on the couch and have to get up and go to bed, and you're not going to be comfortable. It's not going to be your normal routine, and it's going to kind of keep not have your sleep be as restful as it should be.
I think if I were to take a look at all of the things we've discussed, sleep is probably the number one thing that I've struggled with. Even now, I'm not saying like I can fall asleep easily, but I don't have a good routine about it. Some of it is like my work schedule, because sometimes I work early and sometimes I work late and stuff like that. And a lot of people, a lot of professionals have those unstable work schedules. I know like my dad, he, in the winter he does like snow plowing and stuff like that. Well, if it's snowing at 2 a.m, I don't care if you went to bed at 10, like you're getting your butt up and you're getting in the truck. And it's like, I can't even imagine doing something like that. But like, I'm so not, I don't have a good habit in that realm at all. And that's something that I should work on. That should be one of my goals going forward. But all right. So Caden, that's it. Turn this off, go to bed. That's what I'm trying to say.
We know your nanny has homework for you to do and readings involved in that. So you should just read before bed. It'll be much better. Get off Fortnite or whatever you're doing right now.
You can't hit dingers if you ain't sleeping 8 hours a night, kid. So just go to bed. All right. Number 8, our last thing we're going to talk about today. The number 8 mistake that people make when they're trying to lose weight is not finding your why. And this is another one of those abstract concepts that we're going to talk about. But in my core, I really feel like this is one of the things that people miss out the most, or they don't spend enough time thinking about really, why are you trying to lose weight? Why are you going to the gym? Why are you trying to eat healthier? Is it because you feel like you're supposed to? Or are you trying to fulfill like this image that other people have for you? Are you trying to make yourself feel better about some insecurities that you have? Those can all be reasons, but are they strong enough to keep you going in those moments when you're doubting yourself, when things are hard, when you really don't want to stay on that diet, when you don't want to get up early and go for that walk or go to the gym? I think it's really important to sit down and really find out why you want to do these things. Why? Maybe it's for a person in your life. Maybe it's like, your wife, or, maybe you have a son or a daughter. You're like, I really want to be a good example for them. Like I don't have kids yet, but that's something I think about all the time is like, I was a really overweight person right after high school. I put on a ton of weight, and so I have some of those pictures, and I still go back and I look at them sometimes. And I'm always like, God, I just don't want my kids to know that version of me. You know what I mean? I don't want them to ever see somebody who's not taking care of themselves, somebody who doesn't care about themselves, and it's not all about caring about yourself either, but it is teaching someone else or showing an example of how to care for yourself so they can care for themselves and see that it's possible and like set good examples. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And I think like starting with that why, and you can dig deep with it, because it's like, oh, why do you do this? Well, then why do you do it? Because of this reason. Until you kind of get stuck and you can't come up with your why, that's probably your why. And I think it's important to understand your set of values and your beliefs and stuff, because ultimately you know yourself better than anyone else in this world. And if you don't know why you're doing this, then it's not going to be sustainable and you're not going to stick to it. The why is just going to be that factor onto literally why you're doing this, and you just have to find it yourself. I remember at the local YMCA, I feel like we're going to say why a lot in this next couple of minutes. But as we're walking down the stairs, is when there's a quote on the wall, and it's, when you think about quitting, remember why you started. And I think until you can answer that question, you're not going to find sustainability in the gym. And everyone's going to have a different why. And some people could be, they just got diagnosed with like hypertension or something like that, and they literally need to lose weight and get healthier to live. And that could be their why, but deep down it's because they still want to be with their family and want to enjoy life with their family. Not necessarily why is to get healthier, but that's their why. Or why is just, the why is a tough question to answer, but it's important to, it's not just most people's why. I mean, I guess it could be because everyone's individual, but it's more than just to get healthy. Like there's more of a psychological reason to it than just a simple quick answer. So I would challenge you guys to kind of think about what your why is for different things you do in your life. Is it, if your goal is to lose weight, why are you doing that? Or if your goal is to eat healthier, if your goal is to read more, whatever you're doing to try to work towards, try to find your why. Or why do you go to work? Like that was one, I read this book. It's called It All Starts with Why. My manager at the time recommended it to
Wow.
me.
We are going to say why a lot in this
Yeah.
segment.
Yeah, we really are.
Oh my God.
And he challenged me and he's like, why do you come to work? I'm like, to get a paycheck. And he's like, why do you need a paycheck? I'm like, well, to provide for my wife. Why do you feel like you need to provide for your wife? I'm like, well, that's like, it just, he breaks it down until you can't answer the next question. That's kind of where your why starts, is what, like, it's hard to explain. You'd have to read the book, but it's a very good, profound book. It kind of makes you really think on why we do things as people. Do we do it to please other people? Do we do it to please ourselves? And it just kind of really is like a big brain thinking, like philosophical approach to life.
Yeah. And I think that why can be fluid as well. You know, different stages in your life, you're going to have different priorities. So like when I was at that point in my life where I was really unhealthy and really overweight, some of that reason I started was honestly, I hated looking at myself in the mirror. I hated it. I was ashamed of myself. Really, there was a lot of like self-hatred, and that's not the best place to start. And I've grown from that place. One of the reasons I had one of my whys when I started was like, damn it, I can't be this miserable every day. I can't look in the mirror every day and like just have this reaction. I need to do something about this. And so that's not the most positive way to start, but that's the truth of it. I mean, there's a lot of ugly in certain topics like this. So, and that why has grown obviously now to where like we talked about earlier, I want to be a good example for people in my life. When we have kids, you know, I want to be a good example for them. And also I like the lifestyle as well. So there's also that, like, I like training. I don't always track what I eat, but I like the concept of tracking and things like that. And I just get a lot of joy from it. And I find a lot of value. It adds a lot of value to my life, and it adds a lot of value to my relationships as well. Because I have something that I'm really passionate about now. And, you know, people ask me about it and I can ask them how their life is going in those areas as well. And so now the why has grown from a place that wasn't so positive. Maybe it was pretty negative actually, but it's become a very positive influence in my life now. And so now I can't imagine not training consistently. Like I would rather, and I'm being dead serious, if you told me I had to choose between going to school and training, I would have a really hard time going to school. If you told me I couldn't train at all because I had to be 100% dialed in to train, or sorry, vice versa. If I had to be 100% into school, so I didn't have any time for training, I'd be like, all right, I guess I'm taking less classes because I need to train. I'll be miserable if I can't.
I agree. And I'll fully admit, there's like, I'm kind of a homebody, and like I have some coworkers I always want to go out and have drinks and stuff after work. And there's a lot of times I just don't go because I know I want to wake up early and train in the morning. And I know if I go out, my training the next day will be not as effective. And that's more important to me than being social.
Or maybe you'll skip it altogether depending
Yeah,
on how the night goes.
And
You'll be up late,
that's
maybe you'll drink.
understanding myself and my whys versus it's just knowing what I'm going to enjoy emotionally, physically, and just overall I'm going to feel better afterwards. So I make that decision based on how my why, essentially. So
I think it's really a good idea to write it down as well. You know, write it down, have it somewhere where you can look at it, maybe even on your phone. One phrase that keeps popping in my head lately that I keep going back to, and I think might be like I don't know if you want to say my creed or whatever, but like something I'm really thinking a lot is like, be the best version of you that you can possibly be. Right. I don't know why, but that just has a lot of appeal to me, trying to be the absolute best version of me that I can be. And am I going to fall short of that? Probably every single day, but it's something to strive for. And that goes back to comparing yourself to yourself and not other people as well, which, by the way, is one of Jordan Peterson's rules in his 12 Rules for Life book, by the way. So another callback, but yeah, I love the topic. I love the idea. It's a very abstract concept, but it's really important for not just fitness, but life in general. And Tanner takes a sip of his Fresca.
0 calories, probably the best 0 calorie drink, in my opinion.
Non-caffeinated 0 calorie drink.
Very good for before bed.
All right. Do you have anything else you want to add?
No, I think we kind of covered a lot of good tips. Yeah, I don't know. Obviously this list is going to change as we mature in how we do things as content creators and podcasters and whatnot, and just our journey in general. But I think we have gave a lot of core information that our listeners and hopefully you guys can take I don't know, advice from, I guess, and learn from our wrongdoings. So if you guys, I'll challenge you guys, all 5 of you, if you guys want to comment or like or whatnot and kind of share kind of some downfalls or pitfalls you guys might have come across if they're not like the ones we listed, or if you have experienced some of the ones we listed and maybe put some 2 cents behind that as well. That'd be cool on YouTube or Spotify, just so we can, I don't know, communicate with you guys outside of the podcast.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. This episode is probably going to wrap up our weight loss series for now. It's not something that we're going to never do again. Obviously, we'll keep adding on to it as we go, but I think we're going to shift gears a little bit. We have a couple interesting and exciting ideas for new series, new episode, new content ideas that we're going to try to get to you guys. So we'll be kind of shifting gears a little bit, and we'll get into some new stuff here pretty soon. So that's exciting.
Always.
All right. Well, thank you for tuning in to the North Shore Performance Podcast. And always remember, no excuses
and no regrets.
Bye.